Okay folks, it's your second exciting video on graphing logs. This chart comes from the Algebra 2 trig book, but what I really want you to get in your notes is the transformation of logs. And notice that x equals h is the asymptote because it's a vertical asymptote. And just like with other transformation forms, the A is my stretch or compress or reflect. The H is my right or left translation, and my K is my up or down. So pause if you need to get just this part in your notes. Everything else is just breaking that part down. Okay, moving on. So here's how we're going to graph translated log functions. It really comes in 3 steps. So first you want to graph or just use a table to find y equals 2 to the x. So we're going to use a table. So I'm going to say maybe just use a table. And then maybe not graph, but like I should have changed these, like find the inverse table. So that is the x equals 2 to the y. So we switch those two values. This is from video number 1. And then we're going to translate those points on a table and then regraph. So this should really say you will have 3 tables when finished. So step 1, use a table for y equals 2 to the x or your exponential function. Step 2 is to then make a table of your inverse values, which is going to be your y equals log base 2 to the x. We're continuing with that same base 2 graph that we used in video number 1. And step 3 is then we're going to find a new table of values with those translations. So we're going to do that here. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause. Right, so these are our steps 1 and 2. We already have our 2 tables of log base 2. So we have our exponential function, which is how we use to get our new table of values for our inverse, which is also the same as log base 2 of x. So that's what table number 2 is. And then finally, table number 3 is going to be our translated table. So down here we're going to put translated. We're going to have our new x and y's. And I'm probably just going to focus from here down in both of my tables just to make this video not so long. So let's look at the function we're going to graph. First, we want to know what are our translations. So our translations for this are going to be right 3 up 4. Okay? And so when I'm making my new table, that right 3, that only affects my x values. So I'm going to take my x values from my inverse function and I'm going to move them right 3. So if I add 3 to 1/2, I'm going to have 3 1/2. And then I'm going to move 1 right 3, so now I'm at 4. 2 right 3 is 5. 4 right 3 is 7, and 8 right 3 is 11. So those are my new x values. They've been translated right 3. And then if I'm going to look at up 4, that's only going to affect my y values. So here's my y values. We're starting here. I'm just going to add 4 to all of these numbers. So negative 1 plus 4 is 3, 0 plus 4 is 4, 1 plus 4 is 5, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 3 plus 4 is 7. All right, so these are what we're going to graph. So I'm going to graph these. I'm going to go over here to at 3.5. I'm going to be up 3. So there's 1 point. And then at 4, I'm going to be up 4. Ignore, this is my y equals x line. I should have taken that off before I printed the slides. Now at 5, I'm going to be up 5. At 7, I'm going to be over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up 6, and over 11, if this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I'm going to be at 7. So you can kind of see this graph is growing down. Now remember, if we go back one slide, what's my vertical asymptote? Well, it's the h value. So my vertical asymptote here is x equals 3 on that. And so I want to put that dash line in because with exponential functions, I never cross the horizontal asymptote. And with logarithmic functions, I never cross the vertical asymptote. So I'm going to connect the dots that I have going this direction, and then I'm going to keep going down. Right, so that is our logarithmic graph. And notice we started with 3 tables and got 1 graph. So we want to talk about domain and range. So that domain, my arrows go to infinity in both directions. So x is a set of all real numbers. And my range is going to be y is a set of, starting at my vertical asymptote, going to infinity. So 3 to infinity. And I've got one more thing I want to do, and it's my x and y intercepts. Look at my table. I don't have any zeros for x or y. I'd have to expand them out. But remember, if I want to find my x-intercept, I'm going to make y 0. So when I'm solving for x, y is 0. So looking at my function, I'm going to make y 0. So this is finding my x-intercepts right here. So I'm going to have log base 2 of x minus 3 plus 4 equals 0. And you're like, how do I figure out what x is? We know how to solve this now. If I subtract 4 from both sides, I get log base 2 of x minus 3 equals negative 4. And this is one of our cases that we looked at on Thursday, Friday last week, where if I have it just one log and one constant, I'm going to put it in exponential form and solve. So I'm going to have 2 to the negative 4 equals x minus 3. And I can simplify that 2 to the negative 4 a little more. I'm really going to have 1 over 16 equals x minus 3. So x equals 3 plus 1/16. So I'm going to say my x-intercept is going to be 3 and 1/16 and 0. So remember, solving for x-intercept, y is 0. Now solving for y-intercepts, x are going to be 0. So putting the y-intercepts, I'm going to do it down here for more space. I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So I'm going to get y equals log base 2. Well, 0 minus 3 is just going to be minus 3 plus 4 equals 0. Actually, it doesn't equal 0. This is my exact value. You can see we aren't ever going to actually intercept the y-axis on this graph because of my domain. But you could still write your y-intercept as 0, comma, log base 2 of negative 3 plus 4, or if you really understood, there's no y-intercept because I cannot take the log of a negative. So if you want to try to get all the notes in, here's this part. So pause and make sure you get those in. And then here's this part. You can pause and make sure you get those in. I'm going to end my video with showing you guys a problem that I want you guys to do. So I want you guys to graph this problem. I want you to show domain and range and the x and y intercepts. I'm going to stop the video now, and then I'm going to post a picture of this solution after the video so you guys can check for it. But I want you guys to really take the time to do that. And then your assignment is completely on Schoology. So make sure you get this down because I don't think we put these two. So we wanted you to do all of these problems on page 442. And then here's your 2 other functions you're going to graph, and we want all of this. So make sure you get a screenshot or something of this. Okay. But again, you're going to graph this, and then I'm going to post the answer.